Hey, it's me, Bria, coming back with another quick video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my new subscribers. We got I think we're 6 away from 3K. It's pretty close. Got to get those numbers up, and then we'll do some kind of celebration, I imagine. But also, thank you to a final group of people, the people who came out to the Trans March, the March for Trans Lives in Vancouver, Canada, this weekend. It was awesome. It was our first time having a trans march in a few years. There's always one every year at Vancouver Pride in August, and there hadn't been one for a few years because of COVID, and nobody was really taking up the reins. And so this march got organized, and it happened at a different time than we'd normally have a march, and there wasn't a huge amount of publicity. But despite all those things, we had a great turnout, and it was just a really awesome energy, really a good balance of presenting a positive, friendly face, but also speaking truth to power and being defiant in the face of this horrible backlash that's going on right now. And it was just a really wonderful, empowering event. And so thank you again to everybody who came to that. I think protests are an extremely important part of the human condition, just as humans, we have facial expressions and they show our emotions regardless of whether we want to show those emotions or not. You will cry or you will have a scowl on your face even if you're trying to hide your emotions. And that's because we're a social species and we need to get help from one another. And even if you're a super strong ubermensch who, could be a rugged individualist and pass on all your own DNA all on your own and don't need no man or someone else to help you, well, eventually you're going to need help. And because you didn't show anybody that you needed help and you just kept it all in, you died. You didn't have any kids. And so you could have that situation stacked up against, say, a total beta cuck weakling who can't be an individual ruggedly standing on their own, but instead has emotions and expresses those emotions through feelings, through facial expressions. And even if they're trying to adhere to some kind of toxic idea of not expressing yourself, they do, but against their will, through their facial expressions, and that communicates to others in their social group that they need help, and then they get the help, and then they live, and then they have kids. Weird. It's funny how evolution works that way. So if you take that idea and expand it to the social organism that is humanity, and that we are beyond just mere individuals and small groups of people helping one another, but actually it's not about individual facial expressions showing people that you individually need help, but a larger codified demonstration that perhaps fits into the human created technology of having a calendar with cyclical events that are tied to the land and seasons and, things that happen again and again that humans kind of organize around. Doing events like, say, a march every year, a protest, that is like a codified place for the human social organism to express itself to the other humans and let them know how that part of the organism is feeling, and they can let them know how they are feeling about that. And I gotta say, I expressed some really great feelings. I felt like our community expressed some great feelings, and I felt like the larger community expressed some really great feelings back at us. We had a ton of positive support. People were on the street were really into it. They got tons of cheers, tons of applause, tons of people honking their horns and thumbs up from the car, and it was really wonderful to see all that. And perhaps even more wonderful to see how few bigots showed up. There were some. There's always some bigots. And, most of them, in all fairness to the bigots, were out in Surrey. The city of Surrey was having their Pride the same weekend. And, they were out protesting that, I guess. So I hope Surrey Pride had an okay time dealing with those chuckleheads. But it meant they weren't at our event. I'm sure they would have liked to have been. They were in the area earlier that week. And, but we did have a couple. There's always a few. And the ones that I saw were weirdly validating. You get your usual, there's a bum, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way to anybody who's say homeless, but this guy, he looked like a bum. He just looked like Uncle Paulie from Rocky. The guy, he's seen better days, and he was just waving the Canadian Charter of Rights of Freedom, this folded up document that he keeps in his pocket, I guess. He was waving that, saying oh, you can't even accept yourselves, why should we accept you? Which I find such a strange refrain, because we do accept ourselves. We're accepting this truth about ourselves that we've been ignoring for years, chances are. And in accepting that undeniable truth about ourselves, we became happy. And what we're asking for is for the rest of society to accept this truth about ourselves so we can participate freely and fully in society as the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms is supposed to guarantee. I'm not really clear why he thought waving that document around somehow negated trans people. But, we were able to express that sentiment, and it was very nice and positive. We weren't like fighting with the guy or arguing. We just got to say, no, we do love ourselves. And that kind of leads me into the other primary bigot that I saw, because like I said, there weren't very many, but there's always some weirdo that wants to record these things, right? I guess they probably have some freaky weirdo creep chud TikTok or YouTube channel or who knows what, where they're hate watching the parade and videoing it and documenting it to show how dangerous we are or whatever. I don't really know what they had to show. It was mostly just a bunch of disabled seniors dancing down the street to their favorite 1980s music. But sure, they got us. But there was something very interesting in this person who was videoing, and I don't know this person. I don't want to know this person. I don't know anything about their life, and I don't know what goes on in their head. But I did notice a few things. I noticed a lot of things that I saw in myself when I was in the closet, actually. First of all, this person seemed to be assigned male at birth and had rather long hair. I'm not going to say that every single masculine assigned male at birth person who has long hair is queer or trans, but I certainly was hiding in the closet in my long hair. And when I lost my long hair to cancer and had to have short hair for a while, that was a bit of a wake-up call to me. It made me realize I did not like the whole man thing, and maybe I'd like to have a change in my life. So that was red flag number one for me. Number two, this person's dress was very still masculine, whatever that means, but it was not usual. It's very common for queer and trans people in the closet to be a part of a subculture, goth, punk, heavy metal, or just dressing differently. A lot of them are fancy people. They wear Baroque outfits. They do classical music. This person seemed to be leaning that way. They had some sort of jacket thing on that was not your usual guy jacket. And that's interesting. There's nothing wrong with being different. You could be cis, you could be straight, and you can be different. That's great. We support that. We all support that here. However, usually when someone's super invested in upholding cisness and straightness and they're filming trans marches, they ain't into the whole gender nonconformity thing in of itself. Not always. So when I see it, I'm like, oh, what's going on there? Something different. But the main thing that I saw was this person seemed very unconfident, unsure, timid, and was kind of low-key hiding behind their much smaller and surlier looking and more dominant female at birth partner. The dynamic of strong, surly, independent woman acting as a skirt to hide behind for the timid, unsure of herself trans egg is a thing. It's a thing that I had in my life. It's a thing I've seen in tons of other trans people's lives. Couldn't help but notice something similar going on here. So I don't know this person. And then I also know that these days, we're not all about the assuming that anybody who is transphobic or homophobic or queerphobic is themselves in the closet, because that really is, a way of offloading the onus of anti-queer bigotry in society onto basically more queer people, rather than having the onus on the cis heteronormative patriarchy that we live under and its standards that it's trying to uphold for its own power. That's the main reason why these things exist. However, these things are often upheld by people who fit into these groups because they are fighting with themselves. They are invested in the idea of, the patriarchy, and they are too afraid to question that. They're too afraid to take that red pill and step out of the matrix. And so they become an agent. They're willing to work and fight for the system, even though they could and should be against the system. And I've seen this countless times. I get written, emails and messages written to me by, trans people that used to be transphobic and now they want voice lessons, or they're joining the Discord, or they enjoyed my comics and want to thank me for that, for helping them come out. It happens all the freaking time, and I'm not the only trans person with an online community that has people in it who are like that. I constantly see it in Hassan Piker's community and elsewhere. It's a common thing. People run away from something in themselves, and then instead of focusing on confronting the thing that they are scared of in themselves, they attack others that they see it in, because this is a common thing. We don't hate things that aren't part of ourselves. If it wasn't truly something that we are afraid of in ourselves, then we wouldn't care about it. It wouldn't affect us. You just ignore the tiny little trans march like most cis straight people did. But if you are feeling the need to attack trans people and queer people, maybe it's worth looking at. It might, I'm not saying, I don't know you. I don't know your life. I don't know if you're queer or trans. But if you are somebody that is against LGBT people and you're hate watching this video, I might suggest thinking about why it is you have these really strong feelings about a group of people that really supposedly have nothing to do with you. Maybe you have some feelings about gender or sexuality that, you're not sure about. Maybe you feel insecure in those things. Maybe, you've got some trauma going on around these things because you were bullied earlier in your life, or, something bad happened to you. I don't know. Maybe you're just not happy in your life. I've seen a lot of times the sorts of people who write hate comments, much like that bum on the drive waving the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms around, seem to be kind of down on his luck, seem to not be doing too great in life, seem to maybe have something that might make him not want to look at his own life and instead want to blame his problems on other people. We don't hate things that have nothing to do with us. We ignore them because we have plenty of other stuff to think about. So if you're somebody who's having these feelings, maybe you've never told anybody about them, not even your therapist, maybe you don't go to therapy, might I recommend, instead of chasing other people and taking out those feelings on other people that have nothing to do with you, look at them yourself. Go to therapy. Examine why you feel this way. And if at the end of that examination, you come to the conclusion, no, yes, I'm actually completely justified in hating these people. Well, I don't believe you, because really, why? We're a threat to Western civilization? I don't know. I'm sorry. These answers these people have, they always tie back to some other silly thing that would take too long to unpack in this little video here. But can you look at them? Can you look at what's going on for you that makes you feel like this is the most important thing to focus on? Oh, you're afraid for Western civilization. Are you concerned about poverty? Are you concerned about homelessness? Are you concerned about climate change? Are you concerned about real documented problems? Last I heard, there's a whole lot of microplastics in people's blood and semen and in newborn baby cells. That might be something to spend some time on instead of this small group of people that have nothing to do with you. If you are a queer and trans person who's been watching this video because you just really like me, I guess, well, one, thanks, hi. But also, this advice can be for you too. We all have this. I have this too. I've often encountered myself I come up against a person or sometimes even a group of people that I have some kind of weird knee-jerk emotional reaction to. And I'm like, okay, what's that? What's the deal with this? Why am I having this response to somebody that has nothing to do with me? And invariably, it's something I'm carrying around. It's something in my own life that I'm lacking. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily jealous of that person per se, but it could mean that I see something that they are doing that is reflective of something I wish I could be doing, but I'm not. And I'm angry that this piece of myself cannot be expressed in the world, and yet this person on some level gets to express either that same piece or a similar difficult to express or not generally accepted piece of themselves. It's not fair, we think. It's painful to watch somebody get to have something when we don't get to have our something. So, it could also be other things. It can be like, oh, that person's annoying in a way I'm afraid of being annoying. That person reminds me of a way I'm afraid of being annoying. That person reminds me of some mean thing somebody said to me that I've never really unpacked properly and grew from and healed from. Like, it's a whole complex thing. But most of the time, if you're having a really big, disproportionate emotional reaction to something, it's not the thing. You got to dig a little deeper, and there's going to be something else underneath the surface. And honestly, having this realization has helped me so much. It has made a world of difference in my life. It has allowed me to heal from a lot of stuff that I was carrying around with me. And it also helped me to understand myself better and, realize new things about myself that I was not allowing myself to express. I think I'll leave it there. Hopefully that's given you something to think about in your own life. Hopefully it deters you from being a weirdo at a protest or in a trans group or anywhere else. And hopefully you learn something. Thanks again for watching. Thanks to all the new subscribers. Be sure to hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you like it, hit notifications if you want to actually know when I make new videos, and type a comment here to let me know what you think about what I've said, or you're sorry you missed the trans march, or if you have some feelings about pride and protests and things. These videos I've been doing lately are largely inspired by just things that I come upon, either in the comments section or in messages I get or in my day-to-day life. And it inspires me to just make a video. So maybe your comment will inspire me to make a video. We'll see. I got lots of more voice videos coming out soon this summer. I got a few more on the go. But just a quick one this week. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great rest of what's left of Pride Month. And if you're sad that Pride Month is ending, well, don't worry. Pride lasts all year long. Just like these feelings that will never go away, no matter how hard you try and stuff them down and hide behind hating other people to cover up for them. Be good. Have fun. I'll see you later. Bye.